Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday, January 17th. Well, it looks like a southern mid-Atlantic special today. It looks like significant snow could fall in central and southern Virginia, across northern North Carolina, and actually all the way down into the deep south. They could have significant snowfall down into Georgia, for example. Winter storm watches and warnings extend all the way down into Alabama and Mississippi, up through just south of the Washington, D.C. area. I expect some accumulating snow across the D.C. metropolitan region, especially on the southern side of the district, and also across to the Delmarva Peninsula to the South Jersey shore. 1 to 3 inches possibility from D.C. across the Delmarva Peninsula to the South Jersey shore, but the biggest snowfall looks like places like southwestern Virginia. Charlottesville, for example, could end up with 6 inches plus from this storm, and that's the real bullseye region. Philly and New York City are on the very northwestern edge of this storm. Looks like there can be a little bit of mixed precipitation late this afternoon across the Philly region, especially on the southeastern side of the city, and then a little bit of snowfall is possible tonight. Same thing across New York City on the northwestern edge, maybe a little bit of snowfall early tonight. Both Philly and New York, probably little or no accumulation. You have to go a little farther to the south for that to occur. Here's a look at the latest weather warnings issued currently by NOAA. And notice here the purplish color represents winter storm warnings all the way down, extend all the way down into the deep south. And again, the prime area here for heavy snow later on this morning and this afternoon will be right about in this region right here. Places like Charlottesville, Roanoke, and southwestern Virginia could really get hit with 6 inches plus. Some snowfall again across D.C. all the way to the South Jersey coast, maybe 1 to 3 inches throughout this region right here. And again, Philly and New York look like right now they're on the very northwestern edge of this storm's precipitation field. Well, here's the very latest surface map. A couple things to point out here. Here's the storm itself down in Georgia. It will take a track off the Carolina coast and continue northeast out to sea. There's already quite cold air behind this storm down into the deep south, hence the winter storm warnings extend all the way down into Alabama and Mississippi. Now notice up here there's a cold frontal system moving in this direction towards the mid-Atlantic region. Right now temperatures are actually in the 40s across D.C., but this slides in rather quickly this afternoon. Temperatures will fall, especially in the upper part of the atmosphere at first, so that while there can be a mix at the beginning of this precipitation event across D.C. and northern Maryland and Virginia, for example, in the form of rain or a mix of rain and snow, it'll change rather quickly later on today to snow, and certainly later on this afternoon and tonight it should be all snow from D.C. across the Delmarva to South Jersey, and anything that falls in Philadelphia region this evening will be in the form of snow. Same thing in New York City. Again, even in Philly there can be a little mix at the onset, but colder air is pouring in from the north and west, and accumulations are likely from D.C. to South Jersey and points south from there. Well, here's the latest infrared satellite loop. Quite a nice looking band of clouds associated with this developing storm, and we'll see in a moment the radar. There's precipitation all the way from the mid-Atlantic region, the southern mid-Atlantic region, down into the Gulf states. Got somewhat of an influx of Gulf moisture here. You can see the clouds coming off the Gulf in a flow out of the south to the north, right along the east coast. Lots of clear skies here. It's starting to warm up out west. Denver, Colorado, for example, which really has had some frigid weather in recent days, will approach 50 degrees today, and it'll continue to be mild tomorrow, and it'll be rather pleasant finally across the west coast. LA, for example, near 70 degrees, not only today, but for the next several days, it looks like. Well, here's the current radar map for the U.S., and here's that precipitation formed kind of along the old frontal boundary, and with this developing storm in the southeastern U.S., again, that storm is centered right about here. It will move in this direction right here. A lot of this on the western side is in the form of snow all the way back into the deep south, and that is what's headed towards the southern mid-Atlantic. Again, there can be a mix at the onset in northern Virginia, northern Maryland, across D.C., and even in central and southern Virginia, but that should change over to snow as this colder air pours in from the north and west. There's still some snow showers up over the northeastern part of the country as well, but the rest of the nation on the whole is rather dry. Well, let's kind of walk through the very latest NAM model run. This is the current model run from 12Z. And we'll walk through from early this afternoon, early this evening, and late tonight. And here's the forecast again for early this afternoon from the very latest NAM model run. Here's the low pressure area along Georgia, and notice this sharp cutoff to the precipitation right here for the next 6 hours, let's say. And again, it's going to struggle to get any farther than the northern Maryland, Pennsylvania-Maryland border, for example. Quite a sharp cutoff there. Notice this blue line, though, is already by early afternoon all the way south and east of the Washington, D.C. area as that cold air pours in from the north and west. So even though temperatures are in the low 40s across D.C. right now, it'll get quite cold quite quickly by the early afternoon hours. Here's the latest NAM forecast for early this evening. Notice the northwest edge of this precipitation right on the doorstep of Philly, but it is precipitating according to the latest NAM model in the D.C. area, and that'll be in the form of snow. This rain-snow line has dropped even farther south and east all the way down, let's say, to Richmond by early this evening. Definitely snowing at this time across western and central Virginia in the cold air, and it'll be quite decent snow right now in this particular time frame early this evening across this region right here, and even into South Jersey. Much of this should be in the form of snow. Let's now jump ahead 6 more hours. And here's the forecast map for after midnight. By this time, it's already starting to pull out. Here's the storm system here. It moves from Georgia by early afternoon to off the Carolina coast by shortly after midnight. And that edge is edging right into New York City here. There can be some snow or flurries later on tonight in the New York City region. Certainly, there's a little bit of precipitation here put out by the very latest 12Z NAM model run here in South Jersey. That would be in the form of snow. And quite cold air moves into the whole region by tomorrow. Friday will be a very chilly day, especially compared to some of the recent weather we've had. But much colder weather moves in early next week. One final map. This is the total precipitation depicted by the very latest NAM model run, the 12Z model run, for this entire storm. And again, notice that sharp cutoff of Philly right on the edge of little or perhaps nothing. New York City, same thing, right on the edge there, but certainly some decent precip right around the D.C. metropolitan region. And the heaviest, though, the winner here in terms of snowfall, again, southwestern part of Virginia and the northwestern part of North Carolina look like they'll be in the bullseye here for the most snow, perhaps 6 inches or more in that region. So stay tuned for updates throughout the day at the SIweather.com. That's it for now. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.